defense. When you look at your confidence level heading into this one, what is it?
You're always confident. You trust the work, trust what we've done, what we're going to continue to do, trust your habits. So like I said the other day, you go into every game expecting to win. If you don't, then, what are you competing for? But this is going to be a tough game. Like they're number one offense, number one defense. Like you said, there's so many things you can point to. They got an MVP guy in Shea, all defensive guys around them, a lot of great talent over there. Hartenstein's been playing well, great coach. So it's going to be the ultimate test for us. But these are all about just, like I said, tests. It's going to feel like a high-intensity game. It should be a high-intensity game, but ultimately it's just another test. No championships are won today, but I think there's a lot we can learn about ourselves throughout these processes that we're going through. And tomorrow, is another test.
You said it yourself, like championships aren't won right now. We've actually had to prove it always that, hey, we have something to prove in April, May, June. But when you look at tomorrow's game, is it an opportunity to make a statement against the best?
Yeah, I think they would say the same thing. I think you always want to be able to make your imprint, against the top teams in the league. But whatever happens tomorrow, my biggest thing is how are we playing? How are we doing these things? And obviously you play every game to win, but it's just how we win. We continue to do different things. So like I said, they're a tough team. They're a unique team. And so for us, we got to be ready from the jump, and I have no doubt we will be.
How does it feel to be back in the spotlight?
How do I say this? I think it's interesting. I feel like we are a talented group, and I think it's a lot of guys in our group that feel like it should have been a while ago. I think this is something that ultimately, like I've told you, I don't care anymore because at the end of the day, you just got to prove yourself when it matters. We've had that conversation 1,000 times. So for me, this is just like, all right, like I make the joke about everybody being here, like it's just what comes with it. Like there's more of y'all, and good things are happening. But I don't really look at it as like, oh, like we're finally being talked about, or yay, we're on ESPN or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, early in my career, I definitely felt that, But I think now it's more like, look, whether all of y'all are here or not, we still got work to do. We still got to prove ourselves on a night-to-night basis. We haven't won anything. But, like I said, this is definitely a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It means we're doing something positive as a team. We just got to continue to keep that mindset throughout.
You've been very process-oriented throughout this year, I think it's fair to say, as far as like trying to build the right habits and stuff like that. But when you get to a game like this, what do you have to do to make sure you don't treat it any differently, or should you maybe be treating it differently?
No, you go into it with the same focus, the same level of attention, the same attention to detail. I think the only thing that's different is the noise and everything talk around it. But once you get to the game is the game. Understanding that you work for moments like tonight, you work for moments like when we play Boston, you play the Lakers, when you play we play the Knicks. You work for these moments. It's going to be exciting, it's going to be fun, but at the end of the day, man, it's just hoop. Go out there, continue to do what we've been doing all season. Don't deviate from anything. Don't treat anything. Don't go too crazy. Keep it as consistent and the same as possible. I think that's been the mindset because we've been doing a solid job of that all year. So just continue to do what we do and get ready for tomorrow.
I know you guys don't mind, but for the franchise, why is it important for teams like Oklahoma City and Cleveland to get
big time?
These national
Yeah. I think it's big time. I think you're looking at two teams who have a lot of talent. Two teams are in the small market, and there's always that debate. Obviously, we all heard it during my situation. Big market, small market, and I think it's great that small markets are starting to get this attention that they deserve. And you have a lot of talent on both teams. Obviously, you have myself and you have Shea. It's younger. Stars throughout the league. You have DG, you have Ev, you have Jalen Williams over there. You have guys like Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren over there. So it's great to see that we're starting to get that love. I think that's people talk about ratings in a sense, but I think promoting the small market stars in that way I think are huge, and it's great to see that on both sides. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to win. You got to play at a high level, to be able to create that attention, to generate that attention. We're not in LA, we're not in Miami, we're not in New York, we're not in Chicago. So understand that it's going to come from wins, and as long as that's what we talk about, as long as you win basketball games and do things in a positive way, more cameras will be around, I guess. So it's ever good.
You mentioned not being talked about as much throughout the course of this year. Do you have a theory on why
that is? We're going there. All right. I think, like I said to you at the beginning, we haven't done anything. We haven't won at the highest level. one more game. I mean, I hate to be that guy. I'm always that guy. But, like, we've won one more game than we did the year before in the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? For us, you get the respect in the playoffs. That's the only reason why I became, you know, who I was. People realized who I was because of what I did my first year in the playoffs and what I've done throughout my career as an individual. But now it's like as a collective, you know, for us to get the team attention. And obviously, like I said, we're in a small market. So you have to win at a high level. It's just what comes with it. It's unfortunate, but it's just what comes with it. So for us, that's been my process. How do we win at a high level? And then everything else will come with it.
Don, you mentioned this is a tough Thunder team. When you play against a physical team, is preparation any different either for you personally or as a team coming into a game like this?
In a game like this, I mean, more sleep. You know what I mean? But, like, outside of that, no. You know, you continue to go out there. Because if you start to deviate from what you've been typically doing, you start to overpsych yourself out. And maybe everybody's different. You may ask somebody else and they may think it's more. But for me, you know, we've done a lot of good things doing it this way the whole year. Why change it? You know, continue to do your habits, continue to get your work in, get your rest, eat your food, watch your movies, watch your film, whatever it may be, and just be ready to play. So that's pretty much the mindset.
When you talk about the extra attention, I mean, is there a part of you that maybe gets a little excited for your teammates, especially when you think about, you know, the All-Star voting, getting some fans looking at them?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I will say. You know, we talked about it after the Charlotte game, like with DG, but the DG and Ev, you know, obviously I'm second in votes, but those guys will definitely be there. I'm a firm believer that both be there with me. Praying we get JA as well. We get 4. I think we deserve 4. But I think it helps when you have the extra attention. It helps when you have all that because we're deserving. Those guys, we're all deserving. I think we've put the work in, and you know, ultimately it's not in our hands. So we do as much as we can to kind of put all of ourselves in a light that, you know, like we said, you can pick one player. You can pick each individual player and make a very, very strong case why it shouldn't only be in the game. It should start. It should be highlighted. But unfortunately, that's just not the way the world works. So for us, it's like, how do we continue to put all of us in these games, in these moments? And it's great that we have these moments, and we're winning at a high level. So it's great to show that and showcase our game as a whole.
I asked DG this the other day, but the minute allocation, when you look at this team, there's only a handful, maybe a couple people averaging 30, 31 minutes a night. Especially now that you're getting towards January, February, how does that feel as a player, having a little bit more fresh legs, I guess, at this point of the season, and for your teammates too, just overall looking at the landscape of the team, leaning on depth that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it means that we're continuing handling our business during games. I think that speaks to that. When we talked about that, Kenny and myself, we talked about it during the season. It was unique. I've never done that before, but the fact that we've all bought in as a group definitely helps. There's really no pushback on it. You know what I mean? I think that's something that definitely helps. But the fact that we're still in that range, you know, I'm 4 minutes under my career average, something like that. I think DG's around the same, Ev's around the same. It means we're taking care of business. I mean, it means we're doing what we're supposed to do. You know, last year and the year before that, like, we would get leads and sometimes we would lose them and sometimes, you know, we would be in. So, like, now it means, like, all right, cool. You know, we're up. We're doing our things. And also trusting the fact that we got Sam, we got Max, we got Karras, you know, we got Dean, Isaac. Like, you know what I mean? Trusting in our rotation. And guys are getting better as a whole. We're all getting better. We're all playing Ty, George. So I think that definitely helps as well. Guys have continued to step up on a daily basis.
Do you feel pressure?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think mentally you feel pressure too. I think for all of us, I think it's different. Like I said, it's great that we're winning too. I mean, like I think it's great that we're all willing to make that sacrifice for each other. I think that's what keeps the vibe light. But also for myself physically, I do definitely feel fresher, more relaxed, and you definitely trust more as a whole. You trust each other more.
Understanding that
This is the last question.
styles of play with you guys.
Say again?
Understand there's different styles of play, right, with you and OKC. Do you see any similarities, though, like with the way that your teams are being so successful at this point in the season?
I mean, I think defensively, I think is where it starts. They're number one defense. They got a lot of guys. They got a lot of wing defenders. They sit in the gaps. We're kind of like that as well. We obviously don't have the same wings as they do, but we also have, you know, from a guard standpoint, we have Isaac, we have Dean, then you have the 2 Twin Towers back there. So I think our defensive approach, how we do it may be different, but I think our approach, our mindset too, and then offensively, you know, obviously they rely heavily, a lot more on Shea than I think I do here on myself, but I think that's by design. I think it's just something that we've talked about, Kenny and I have talked about, but also understand that like it's different ways to winning. That's worked for them, that's continuously worked for them, and this has worked for us, and we're going to continue to find ways. And it'll be exciting. Tomorrow will be fun, and it'll be a great test for both teams.